See, what I'm going to do now is demonstrate a little diagnostic tool that we have developed. I'll explain what I mean by this diagnostic tool, but this is a tool that all of you will use for your group exercise. We will give you the user instructions. We will also give you the tool which will load on your computers and things like that. But today I'm just going to give you a little demonstration and a little. This presentation is also telling me. So you're right. You go to a doctor. Now what does a doctor do? Give you the medicine straight away? He'll do a diagnosis. So he'll do some physical examination, stethoscope, do all that. And maybe after that also he's not satisfied, so he'll put you to get these tests done, this X-ray, this blood test. He gets various things done, right? And then you get a report from that examination. Based on that, you go back to the doctor and he does a diagnosis, right? So there is a process behind the diagnosis. And it is based on that diagnosis that he prescribes medicines. So there is a systematic approach to prescribing medicines. And well, you feel good after that. Now, what is the kind of laboratory examination report? Does this look sort of familiar? What this is telling you is that, where is the pointer? This is the result. See, whatever albumin, whatever, I don't understand these. Only the doctor will understand. This seems to be glucose. This is albumin, whatever it is. But this is the result as far as that patient is concerned. Then it also tells you there is a reference range. That means for each parameter, it's a minimum, there is a maximum. If you are within that, you're okay, no problem, go home, enjoy yourself. But if something is not correct, something is not within the range, then you run into a problem. So he'll give you medicines based on what he finds is not right with you. Is this clear? Any doubts on this? No. Now what I'm trying to argue is, can we extend this philosophy to urban transport? Very often we see congestion, immediately we say build a flyover. You have a lot of accidents, so you say start training our people on how to prevent accidents, or start training our drivers on how to drive safely. But have we done an analysis of why we are having congestion? Congestion need not mean that it is just because we have too many cars. It could also mean that our road space is not enough. It could also mean that our roads are potholed and in bad condition, so vehicles are moving slowly. It could mean because of poor design of the infrastructure. It need not be only because you have too many cars. So what I'm trying to argue through this is that should we also do a similar diagnosis before finding out what is wrong with our transport system and then try to find remedies to that system? Okay? This is the objective of really this diagnostic tool. So these are the results that I showed you, and this is the reference range based on which the doctor is able to find out where he is okay, where he is not okay. Now, this patient seems healthy. He doesn't have too much of a problem. Now, what could be the causes of congestion? It could be because you have too many vehicles. It could be because inadequate road space. It could be because there's some problem with our traffic management. It could be a number of reasons. Similarly, the other problem is safety. Again, it could be there are too many vehicles. poor maintenance of vehicles. Very often poorly maintained vehicles cause accidents. It could be because untrained drivers, and the way we get driving licenses could be, inadequate testing of people before driving licenses are given. So the purpose of this whole diagnosis, these are only some possible causes. The purpose of this whole diagnosis is to find out what really is the cause of the problem, and then try to deal with that problem. Now, this is what a good doctor will do. If you are ill, your fever is high, he'll not try to give you some medicine to just bring the fever down, but find out why is your fever high. So if you have malaria and he gives you crocin, I'm giving you some of the Indian medicines because that's what I know. Crocin or Tylenol only helps to bring down the fever. It doesn't sort out your malaria problem. So you need to take quinine to get rid of the malaria problem. So that's the whole purpose of this diagnosis. Now, what does the tool do? The tool does something very similar to what we've gone through the medical process. It compares various indicators for a particular city with similar indicators of other cities. It's an Excel-based computerized tool in which there are a whole series of indicators already available. You can decide which is the city that I want to test. You feed in the parameters for the city that you want to test, and it will automatically compare with a series of cities that you choose and for a series of indicators that you select. And it will give you graphs to tell you how this city of yours compares with the other cities that you have selected. It's a very simple tool. So it compares these indicators. And the idea is to see how this city is performing vis-a-vis many other cities, and see where it is performing poorly. That is where you need to attend. See where it is performing well. That's not something that you have to bother about. So this is quite like a pathologist report. So you have the indicators for that city. You have a possible range by looking at other cities and seeing where you stand. Okay? Any questions so far? Good. If there were questions, then there was something wrong with me.
I have questions, but I didn't know better.
Huh? Okay. 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 Sorry? No. I'll demonstrate the tool to you. And no, if there's any questions on the basic principle, if there's any question on the basic principle.
In the case of medical doctor's report, they have taken the indicator for normal human beings and then arrived at the normal rate, and then they are comparing the person to arrive at the condition whether he is ill or not. But here we are comparing, there is no such thing as a normal city. Every city will have some problem. So, whether to compare another bad city with the city.
No, you choose. You see, what happens is, as far as the human body is concerned, there are millions and millions of tests that have been carried out. And medical science, through their own associations, through their own various networking arrangements, have arrived at what is a possible normal range. Right? In urban transport, unfortunately, we have not done that. And getting data on urban transport, for anyone who has tried to collect data on urban transport, even for his city, it has been a nightmare. I tried doing this for quite some time from the Ministry of Urban Development in India, and it was impossible. Because this data is not available even within a city at one place. You try and go back to your city in Pondicherry, can you get data on various, I'll give you a list of things, and try to find out how many different agencies you will have to go to get that data within one city. Impossible. So that is a challenge with urban transport. So the problem that we have been facing in trying to do this diagnostic tool is you don't have reliable data. Yet, despite that unreliability, can we still try to do something and get some indicators of what our approach to the remedy should be? There are cities which have far too many buses, but they don't know that they have too many buses because they've never compared with other cities. There are cities which have too few buses and they say, look, we want to add 500. And believe me, there are cities that we worked with in the World Bank where they want to add 500 buses. I said, but you need to add 3,000 buses, not 500 buses. Because the number of buses you have is so low. So this is the purpose of this kind of a diagnosis. It's giving you some pointers. Even though the data is not absolutely accurate, it's giving you some pointers. And I'll explain to you how we have tried to get around this problem of inaccurate data or unreliable data. We've used some methodologies to try and get around that. So we don't get very precise results, but we get pointers to what is the right direction to take. Okay? Now, what does this tool give you? It has a database. I mean, the first thing it must have is that database. We have almost about 90 cities and almost about 100 data items for each of those. I, for one, have not come across a database which is so comprehensive as far as urban transport is concerned. In many cities where you have a large number of small bus operators, if you try to find out how many passengers they have carried, you won't get it. No one will tell you. For those familiar with Delhi, if we try to find out how many passengers the Blue Line buses carried, you won't get it. For DTC buses, you'll get it, but Blue Line, you won't get it. Now, this is a problem in many cities. Many cities in Africa, you have only small mini buses that are carrying everything. You don't even know how many buses there are.
No, there is no Blue Line.
There's no Blue Line now. But, many cities around the world, you have this problem of you don't know how many buses. So that's the kind of problem that we've been grappling with. One option is forget it. Data is unreliable, forget it. But the other option is, well, even if it is unreliable, can we do something and make a beginning? And that's what we try to do in this. So it has a database. It has a facility by which you can update this data. Our idea is, let's create something. As we go along, we will get information about more accurate data, more reliable data. Keep putting that up, and we can add more cities. You want to test for a particular city. That city is not available in our database. It's a new city. You can add this. So it has a facility for adding cities and updating the existing data. You can choose which cities you want to compare with. So you want to compare Seoul. You don't want to compare Seoul with some small city with 500,000 population. Or you want to compare Cairo. You'll want to compare Cairo with cities of similar size, similar income. So it gives you the facility as the user to choose the category of cities that you want to compare with. Or you can even manually select and say, I want to compare with this and this and this and this and this. So that choice is with you. The other thing it does is, so as I said, it's a manual selection, or you can put, filter criteria. So I want to compare with all cities which have more than 5 million people and less than 20 million people. If you want to compare, say, Kampala, you may want to say that I want to compare with all cities with a population of more than 500,000 and less than 5 million. You choose. If I was to compare Bangalore, Bangalore is about 6 or 7 million now. So there's no point of comparing Bangalore with a 1 million population or a 20 million population. You can limit your range. You can do the same thing with income. You don't want to compare, Kampala with some high income country. So it gives you the facility to choose what kind of cities you want to compare with. Similarly, it also lets you choose which indicators you want to compare. Do you want to compare safety record? Do you want to compare public transport share? Do you want to compare road lengths? This gives you a whole, what is the length of mass transit in the city? What is the public transport ridership in the city? It gives you a whole lot of indicators, and you can decide which ones you want to choose. And finally, it allows you to get graphs showing the results. All this is automated. So you first choose which city you want as your test city. If that is not available, you feed in the data for that test city. You make a selection of which other cities you want to compare with. You make a selection of which indicators you want to choose for this comparison. And finally, ask it to give you the results. It gives you the results in the form of a whole lot of graphs. Okay? When I demonstrate, it will get a little clearer. Now, the charts again can be a single indicator. We also have a provision for a scatter plot with two indicators. You saw one graph which Mr. O had presented, which showed the energy consumption in road transport with the income, the national income of that country. And what he showed in that graph is, as income grows, your energy consumed also grows. But in some countries, it has grown in a certain path. In certain other countries, it has grown at a slower path. So what Korea has been able to achieve is, even after its income has grown, the energy consumption has not grown as much. So that is what you call sustainability. So it can give you scatter plots with two indicators. So you can compare. How does this city compare with the other one on these two indicators? Hopefully, as we go into more refined models, we'll be able to have more than two indicators. But as of now, it has only two indicators. So the database, as I said, is almost 150 data items and for about 95 cities. We've collected these only from secondary sources, not very reliable, as I mentioned, but still it's there. It's reasonably accurate. And the data has been clustered into these categories. So you have demographic data, you have data on supply of infrastructure, on public transport, on the energy use, on safety, on pollution, and we also have some macroeconomic data. So you again choose which out of these you want to use. This is what the database looks like. You don't have to do much with the database, it's there for you. This is what the update form looks like. So if you go at the bottom, you'll see an update form. Let me show you what. This is the database. This is an update form, and here it asks you to feed in the name of the city. You can feed in the name of the city. So you can put in Chennai, your category. You can choose which category of the indicator and then feed in data for each of those. So this is updating. This is the kind of charts it gives you. This is a chart of what is the daily mass transit ridership as a percentage of the population. And it has compared a number of cities: Ahmedabad, Wuhan in China, Kunming, New York, Mexico, London, Guangzhou in China again, Tokyo and Hong Kong. So it tells you what share of the population is using the mass transit system. This is an example of a scatter plot which shows for different cities what are the total registered motor vehicles vis-a-vis the income level of that city. So typically when income goes up, the vehicle ownership also goes up. That's what you would expect, and that's what you really see here. But you'll find cities like London have relatively lower vehicle ownership despite higher income compared to cities like Tokyo. So Tokyo is also known for high ownership, but not high usage. That's the unique policy that cities in Japan have been able to manage, that we don't discourage ownership of vehicles, but we would discourage the use of vehicles. In fact, the same thing has been adopted in the Indian urban transport policy. It does not discourage ownership of vehicles, but it tends to discourage use of vehicles. So it's the different instruments that you use for managing your travel demand. If you have high fuel tax, it means you are discouraging use. If you have high vehicle registration tax, it means you are discouraging ownership. So that's how you distinguish between these two policies. Now, the problem that, as I mentioned, is when we looked at this data and we found that a lot of it is not very accurate. But how do we get around this lack of accuracy? So we said, if a vehicle has 800 buses, or a city has 800 buses, and another city has 1600 buses, let's not say that 1600 is double of 800, because we don't know if 1600 is very reliable. We don't know if 800 is very reliable. So we said, let's not say that city A has twice the number of buses as city B, but let's say that city A has more buses than city B.
That's also quite not reliable, because now in India, what I understand is we have data of the registration details, but
True,
not
true,
on the
true.
present
But
condition of
it's a common problem across all cities, right? Since that's a common problem across all cities, you can take that as it will nullify. So one city has more buses than another city. And if you're comparing 40 cities, what you can do is divide these 40 cities into, say, different clusters. The top cluster is the top 20%. So first 8 cities, then next 8 cities, next 8 cities. Let's say we divide them into 5 clusters. That's what we've done here. And then you say city A falls in the top cluster. City B falls in the bottom cluster. City C falls somewhere in the middle. So you can say that in city B, which is in the bottom, you need to improve the public transport. In city A, your public transport is already high, so you don't have to do much about public transport. That's the way you get sort of directions. And when you play around with this, you'll find some very interesting results. There are cities where the average trip length is not very high. It comes in the low trip length category. But the travel time is very high. So, something wrong there. If your trip length is high, but your travel time is, if your trip length is low and your travel time is high, there's something wrong. What could it be? Congestion, traffic management, poor design of infrastructure. So you need to see why is it that your travel time is high despite trip length being low. You have cases where very high public transport ridership. When you do these city exercises, you will see that. Public transport ridership is extremely high. If you take the metro, per kilometer of metro, the ridership per kilometer of metro is extremely high. Yet, your total public transport share is low. Why is that? So, this is the kind of analysis we would like you to do when you do your group exercise. And first identify what are the problems. So, this is the first part of your exercise in the group. And the second part of the exercise will be, well, if that is the problem, what are the solutions that we would recommend to the mayor or the governor of that city? Let me do a quick demonstration of this tool. And I think I'll have to sit here, so you have to hear me, not. So this is what the database matrix look like. You don't have to do much about this. This is the update form. So here what you can do is, you can say Sao Paulo. What it is showing is Sao Paulo. This is the category. If you can choose any of these data items, and if you find that you have updated data on something, just feed in that updated data. You can choose this and change it to whatever number you feel is the right thing. Now, what is particularly relevant in your case is this reports. So let's say you go to reports. In the reports, you want to check Cairo and you want to generate appropriate reports for Cairo. So what I'm doing is I say generate report. This is what it will give you. You have chosen Cairo. You can choose any other city. Let's say I want to change it from Cairo and I want to go to something else. Let's say I want to do Bangalore. Okay, Bangalore. Now, which are the cities I want to compare with? I've already done some manual selection here, but let's say I don't want to do a manual selection. I want to put a filter category. And my filter category, there are many categories on which you can do the filtration. I'll make it a little easy and I'll say I want to do it on the population. So I want to compare with cities of similar population. And what is the range? I want to take cities which have a population of more than, let's say, 2 million, and those that are less than, let us say, 10 million. Okay. Now, this is my choice of cities that I want to compare. Now, what indicators do I want? Let me say I choose the category. In the indicators, let me take, say, air quality. And in the air quality, there are some specific indicators. I want to take, let us say, particulate matter emissions. I add that. I want to take public transport energy use. Let me add that. Then I want to choose something else. Let me say mass transit supply, or let me say supply of vehicles and road. And I want to choose, say, buses per 1,000 population. Add that. And I want to say two-wheelers per 1,000 population. Add that. Four-wheelers per 1,000 population. Add that. So I've added all of these. This is, you can make it as complex as you want. And having done that, you just proceed. Now it's giving you a whole lot of data. Let's see what all it's got. This is the first one. Now this is what you have. This is Bangalore. This is where Bangalore stands in terms of particulate matter emissions per million population. It is less than Cairo, less than Ahmedabad, but more than Guangzhou, more than Barcelona, more than Ahmedabad, more than Tokyo, more than Mexico. This is for particulate matter. The second report is telling you about public transport energy use. Again here, Bangalore is shown very low. It's probably because we don't have the data. So when it picked up, no, Sam, permit errors, permit gaps. If at some point we get this data on what is the public transport energy use in Bangalore, we'll feed it in here. Right now this is saying you don't have the data. If you look at buses per 1,000 population, again this is very interesting. It shows Mexico has very few, but what we know for a fact is Mexico has quite a few. It has quite a few buses, but a lot of them are privately run, informal kind of bus services where you don't have the data. So let's leave Mexico out. You have Amsterdam, you have Tokyo, you have Ahmedabad, you have Barcelona, Cairo. Now Bangalore has roughly about 0.75 buses per 1,000 population, which means about 750 buses per million population. London has about, no, we don't have London here, but London is roughly about 500 buses per million population. So it's giving you some benchmarking vis-a-vis number of other cities. This one tells you two-wheelers per 1,000 population. Now you know Bangalore has a very high share of two-wheelers, and you compare this with many other cities, it's much more. Somehow it has not picked up Ho Chi Minh City. If it had picked up Ho Chi Minh City, the number would have been lower than Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi, because Vietnam has a very high number of two-wheelers. If you go to the next one, it tells you the four-wheelers. Now on four-wheelers, it's much less. So the share of two-wheelers in Bangalore is much higher than the share of four-wheelers, which is not the same as in many other cities around the world. So the idea is that it's a tool that you can use to play around. So when you get into your group exercises, spend some time in playing around with it. I've just chosen a few samples. You can choose a much wider sample, but try to compare the city that you are looking at with others and try to find out, try to do some kind of a diagnosis. What is the problem there? Now, the one interesting thing which it gave was this graph. Now, what this showed you was, it's a little small, but for different indicators which are on the x-axis, it showed you which quintile Bangalore fell in for different indicators. So there was some indicator here where it was in the second quintile. For another indicator, it was on the bottom quintile. No, I think this one is that it didn't have data. We have in the quintiles, you have a 6. The 6 means that data was not available. Then some other indicator, this is the, I can't read that. Buses, okay, buses per 1,000 population, it was in the second quintile. In two-wheelers per 1,000 population, it was in the first quintile. And in four-wheelers per 1,000 population, it was in the fourth quintile. So it's telling you where it stands vis-a-vis different indicators when you compare with cities around the world or whatever cities you have chosen. And this would give you some indication of what should be the remedial measures. Now, I'll not tell you what should be the remedial measures for Bangalore here, because Bangalore is one of the cities you'll be doing as a group, and try to think across about it in the group, and let's think of how you can derive possible remedies from the data and through this diagnosis. Okay? Any questions on this?